I thought I knew every trail in Montana, till I found the one that doesn't exist on any map. Welcome to ASMR 404 Found, whispered horror from haunted trailheads and true forest mystery. Subscribe for DALY ASMR Horror Tales. If you're reading this and you've ever thought about hiking into the Bitterroot Mountains on your own donkey, don't care if you've been doing solo treks since you were 12. I don't care if your GPS has never let you down, and I don't care if you think you know every inch of western Montana like the back of your hand. Because there's a part of those mountains that doesn't play by the same rules. There's a trail that isn't on any map, and if you find it, if you follow it, you won't come back the same if you come back at allium, not a writer. I'm a firefighter from Missoula named Grant, and up until 6 months ago, I was a regular guy. Tough upbringing, outdoorsy couple girlfriends that didn't last no big. Horror backstory or ghost trauma. Just a guy who liked to disappear into the woods when the world got too loud. That's what this was supposed to be. A 3-day backpacking reset. I told a buddy I'd be up near Lake Como. I parked at the usual spot, checked my gear, shot off a text that never sent, and headed up into the trees. The first day was normal. Quiet, crisp airbirds calling out somewhere above me. That crunch of old pine needles underfoot. You ever been deep enough in the forest that your ears start playing tricks on you, where the quiet is so full that it sounds like something's breathing? That's what I live for. That strange threshold between solitude and fear. It usually passes, but this time it didn't. About 7 miles in, I saw it. Not a signpost, not a carved marker, just a narrow break in the trees where the wind didn't reach. The ground there was darker, wetter, like it hadn't seen sun in a long time, and even though every part of my brain said, keep walking, my feet turned dry. Don't know what made me go down that trail. It wasn't curiosity, it wasn't arrogance, it felt like inevitability. Like this path had been waiting for me specifically, that it knew I would come. I pushed through the narrow mouth of trees, and the air changed. It got colder, heavy, like walking into a cave with no roof. The light dimmed, even though it was barely past noon. And the birds, they stopped singing. The trail didn't wind like normal forest paths do. It cut, it plunged, straight and steep, like something drilled it into the mountain. My GPS still had me in the same coordinates, as if I hadn't moved at all. That should have been the first sign. I hiked for hours. The trail kept going, never intersected another path. No deer trails, no broken twigs, or signs of life. Just that single track narrowing as it went deeper. Eventually, I realized I hadn't seen the sky in a while. The canopy had thickened so much that it blocked out everything the light came through. By in sickly green shafts, and that's when I noticed the silence wasn't silent anymore. There was a sound, a low vibration, like something breathing behind the trees. I told myself it was wind, but there was no breeze. The air was still. Lie camped that night in a small clearing. My hands shook when I set up the tent. I told myself it was just the elevation, just the cold, but it wasn't that. Night, something walked circles around my tent, slow, heavy, one step pause. It did that until dawn. And when the sun finally broke through, there weren't any tracks, not one mile. Compass spun the entire next day. The trees got denser, leaning in from either side like they were listening or waiting. I started seeing things out of the corners. Put up my eyes, figures tall and unmoving, always just barely hidden behind a trunk or branch. Too still to be animals, too silent to be people. I found a skull that afternoon, half buried in moss, human-sized, old, cracked right down the middle. I didn't touch it. Don't remember setting up camp that night. I just remember waking up to whispers right outside my tent. Not language, not words, just breath. Like someone dragging their mouth across the fabric of the tent, in and out, over and over. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. My fire was cold, but there were fresh pine boughs laid in a perfect ring around the tent, clean, precise, like someone had arranged them. Or something. I turned back, or I tried to, but the trail behind me was gone. Not overgrown, not hidden, gone. Just endless trees in every direction. And the trail I was on, it had changed. It wasn't dirt anymore. It was bone. White, cracked like thousands of little shards embedded in the earth. Some of them looked like teeth. I hiked fast, didn't stop to eat, didn't drink. The forest felt like it was closing. The trees creaked and moaned without wind, and I could hear them whispering, right at the edge of hearing, like they were arguing over me, like they were deciding something that night. I didn't sleep. I kept the fire high, too scared to blink, and at some point around 3 a.m., the trees stopped whispering. Everything went still, and from the darkness across the fire, something stepped out. It wasn't a person, not exactly. It had a face, but it wasn't human. Too long, too pale eyes, like empty sockets filled with shadow. Its arms hung low, hands grazing the ground. It moved like it had too many joints or not enough bones. And when it opened its mouth, it smiled. I don't remember screaming, but my throat was raw when I woke up. When I came to, the fire was nothing but smoke. My tent was gone, not collapsed, gone. No poles, no fabric, no trace it had ever been there. Just ash, like something had burned it clean from the earth. My backpack was untouched. My boots were still laced. My hands covered in blood that wasn't mine. I checked every inch of myself. No wounds, no scratches. But the blood was fresh. It soaked the cuffs of my sleeves. It was on my face, behind my ears. It had a smell I will never forget, sweet and coppery. Then wrong, that's when I started to hear the knocking distant. At first, like something tapping wood in the distance. 1 knock, pause, 2 knocks, pause, then 3. It repeated again and again, like a code, like a summons. I turned and kept walking. Didn't matter that I didn't know where I was anymore. Didn't matter that the sun hadn't risen, even though it should have. I just walked. I walked until my legs burned and my lungs felt like gravelly past another ring of bones. That afternoon, this one arranged in a spiral, tiny bones, hundreds of them, birds, rodents, some too small to recognize, some with teeth. I found an old trail camera nailed to a tree, dead battery, dusty lens. I took it down and stuffed it in my pack out of instinct. Didn't know why, just felt like I'd need it. That night I didn't make camp. There was no point. There was no night anymore. Not really. Just a perpetual dusk. The sky barely lit. The air dense and buzzing like static before a lightning strike the whispers. were louder now. Still not words, but rhythms, chants. Maybe they came from all around, some close, some impossibly far. And every time I stopped moving, they got louder. I saw a woman that night, middle of the trail, standing barefoot, hair matted, skin pale. Like paper, she didn't blink, didn't breathe, she just stood there, and as I stepped closer, she opened her mouth and let out a sound that didn't match the shape of any living thing's voice. It was layered, high-pitched, and low-pitched all at once. A shriek, beneath a groan, beneath a hiss. It rattled my teeth, made the ground vibrate, made the trees lean toward her like they were worshipping Yaves. Ran. I didn't care about noise. I didn't care about exhaustion. I ran until my legs gave out, and I collapsed into brush, and I stayed there shaking, listening to her footsteps pass me by, not on the trail through the trees, as if they parted for her. When I woke up again, it was to the sound of breathing, not my own. I opened my eyes slowly, and there, just inches from my face, was another face, not human, not fully. Its eyes were solid black. Its skin was blistered and wet. Its mouth hung open like a wound, and from inside I could hear the whispers, not coming from its throat, but from deep inside it, as if the forest was inside it, speaking through it. Screamed. I know I did, but no sound came out, only a dry wheeze, like my vocal cords had been scorched. Then it was gone, vanished like smoke in a windless room, but the trees around me were bleeding. Dark sap oozing from gashes in the trunks. The smell was thick, rotted sweetness, like meat left in the SUNY found what I thought was an old ranger station that morning, just a shell of a cabin, half collapsed, covered in moss. Inside there were notes, carved into the walls, dozens of them. Names, dates, sentences, repeating over and over. IT breathes under the roots, IT sees through the trees, IT knows your enemy. Over and over. Some of the names were scratched out, some were fresh to fresh. Mine was one of them, carved in clean lines, GR&T. That's when I knew I wasn't the first, not by a long shot. The camera, I took it, powered on for a second battery, still somehow alive. And there was one photo stored on it, one single image. It showed the cabin. But the cabin was full, packed with figures, all staring directly at the lens, every single one of them with black eyes, every single one of them smiling, and one of them was May. Dropped the camera, smashed it with my boot. It didn't break, it laughed. I swear it did not, with sound, with vibration, like it was mocking me through the soles of my shoes. That night I didn't bother pretending. I walked, just walked. Aimless, hungry, dizzy, like the forest had crawled inside my stomach and was coiling tighter. With every step I reached a clearing just before whatever was left of morning, a perfect circle of bare earth at the center. A hole, not dug, not natural, just there, dark, deep, wider than it should have been. It breathed. You ever hear a hole breathe? Not the wind, not echoes, but a true inhale, a wet pull of air from below, like lungs buried miles down, sucking you toward them. I nearly stepped in. I think I wanted to something about the rhythm of that breathing, the pulse of it. It was hypnotic, but a sound stopped me. Not the whispers, not the woman, not the thing from the fire. It was my dad's voice. He's been dead 6 years. Heart attack, dropped on the job, but I heard him clear as anything. Grunt, don't Rooney ran. Didn't look back, didn't breathe, didn't think, and this time the trail opened up just like that, as if the forest had let go, or gotten bored, or chosen something else. So collapsed in a ditch off Route 93, naked, covered in scratches, mud in my mouth. A trucker found me and took me to the hospital. Say, I was missing for 8 days, but my beard hadn't grown. My nails hadn't changed, no signs of starvation or dehydration. The only thing they found was a single long black hair wrapped around my tongue like it had been tied. There, they kept me for 3 days in the hospital, ran tests, scans, blood work, all normal, no signs of trauma, no explanation for the scratches or the fever dreams, or the way my eyes refused to dilate in normal light. They called it exposure, said I must. Gotten turned around, panicked. But I know panic. This wasn't that, this was something older, deeper. They gave me back my things, my boots, my shredded pack. Even the broken trail cam I swore I left behind. It still had battery, still powered on, still had that same photo, the one of the cabin only. Now there were more faces, all. The hospital staff, the nurse, the orderly, the doctor, they were all in it, smiling. That S. When I knew I hadn't left the forest, not really, it had followed. May tried to forget, tried to live, but it didn't let me. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard them. The trees, the whispers, the breathing beneath the roots. Sometimes I'd wake up in places I didn't recognize. Backyards, fields, once in the crawl space beneath my own house. Dirt in my teeth, hands muddy and raw. But I was never digging down, I was always digging up. I started getting calls, no number, just static. Then the knocks started again. 1, 2, 3 from inside the walls. Bought cameras, thermal ones, and every night they picked up movement, tall shapes, too tall, moving just beyond the reach of the lens, but always facing the house, always still, until the second I blinked, time moved. Didn't matter, it found me, again and again. Went to a priest, a Navajo elder, a paranormal group from Spokane. None of it helped, because it wasn't a ghost or a demon. It wasn't even something that could be cast out. It was land. Old land, living land, and I had stepped on its nerve. One day, I found something new, a small wooden totem on my pillow, crude, carved from pine, wrapped in black thread. Its face was mine. That night, I heard footsteps upstairs. I live alone. The hallway light flickered out, and I heard that sound again, the smile. You don't think a smile can have a sound, but it can. It stretches the dark, makes the silence hum like wire pulled too tighty. Didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened as the doorknob turned. Slow click, 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 then nothing, just a whisper from the other side of the door. Grant, you're home. I burned the house the next day, watched it fall, smelled the sap again in the smoke. I knew it wouldn't matter, but I needed to try. Now I live in my truck, drive state to state, sleep with a gun across my chest. Doesn't help, not against it. Seen others like me at truck stops, in diners, in the dark corner booths where no one talks, eyes wide, hands shaking. They saw it too. They heard the forest breathe. They know we're not supposed to be here, not in those places where the old things still grow, where the land remembers. A woman sat next to me 2 weeks ago. at a bar in Boise, said 4 words without turning her head. You left the door. Oh, Penny didn't ask, didn't answer. We both knew what she meant. I tried to warn people. Online posted. Buy in forums, Reddit, wilderness boards. But those posts vanish, or they get twisted, turned into jokes or creepypasta. And then I start seeing those usernames in the camera photos. I still have it. The trail cam, can't throw it away, can't destroy it. It comes back last week. It showed a new face, yours, you. Reading this, you think this is a story, a fun little scare. A tale for your ASMR channel, but it's not. It's a warning, because once you hear it, once you picture that trail, the one that cuts straight into the earth, it starts to see you, and it always wants more. So, if you ever find yourself in the Bitterroot Range, and the wind dies, and the air turns cold, and you see a path that isn't on the map, do not follow it, do not look too long, do not listen when the trees call your name, because they will, they know you know. The breathing, it never stops. I used to believe that deserts were dead places, silent, empty, barren. I was wrong. If you've ever driven south on Arizona Route 77 between Globe and Winkleman, you've probably seen the sign Cholla Ridge Recreation Site, no to nor overnight camping. It's sun-faded, chipped, but it's there. Just a crooked brown board stuck into rock and sand. Most people pass it by. Nobody hikes in that stretch anymore. Too dry, too forgotten, and it's not even on most park maps now, but I did, and I brought something back. My name's Cole. I work as a park maintenance contractor in Arizona. I don't wear a badge or carry a radio. I fix broken trail signs, patch holes in fences, sometimes clear brush after monsoon season. It's lonely work, exactly how I like it, but last October I got a contract from an old district office that had recently reopened. They asked me to inspect trail signage along a place I'd never heard of, Cholla Ridge. Said there were complaints from some retired botanists who'd been out looking for night-blooming cactus. One of them reported strange howls. Another said their GPS blacked out near a dry river wash. They wanted someone to check it out. I took the job, easy pay. 15 miles of desert trail and a day's worth of walk. The morning I pulled into the trailhead, I noticed something was off right away. The parking area was just dirt and gravel. No shade, no pavement, but there were tire marks. Fresh to fresh, someone had parked here last night. The air was dry, still not a single lizard moved across the ground. No bird calls, no buzz of insects, just sun on rock and this strange hum in the distance. Not mechanical, not natural. Like something under the earth. Thigh strapped on my gear, 2 gallons of water, tool belt, small sap, radio. And I walked past the trail sign. It read, Cholla Ridge Trail, nitrogen monoxide. 197 below. That someone had scratched something into the wood. I leaned close. It was a single word. Turanda. Trail started like any other desert path. Dusty. Cutting between tall cholla cactus and brittle bushes. The ridge itself was a long spine of red rock that rose slowly about 2 miles. In the wind stopped completely. I heard a crunch behind me, turned fast. No one, no footprints, just cactus shadows stretching too long across the ground, longer than they should have been, twisting like fingers. First signpost I reached was half broken. old but still legible mile to stay on trail. I knelt to mark it in my log. That's when I saw the feathers black, short, clean, lined up perfectly across a flat stone, like they'd been placed. I stood quickly, looked around, no animals, no sound. I pushed on, tried not to think about it, tried to focus on the sun, the heat, the crunch of my boots. Then I saw it off trail. About 30 yards out, a figure still standing in full sun, without any shadow. I called out. Nothing lifted my binoculars. It was a man, no hat, no gear, skin dark like burnt clay, eyes wide and blank, staring right at me. Waved. He didn't move. Didn't blink. I turned away for just a second to grab my radio, and when I looked back, he was gone. Not walked off. Gone. No footprints, no trace. I backed up slowly, tried the radio, got nothing but static, no signal out here. That's not unusual. But the static, it wasn't normal either. It pulsed, matched my heartbeat. Hiked another mile fast, trying to shake it off until I found something worse. Shoe half buried in sand, sun-bleached, worn, and next to it a set of deep footprints leading off trail into the Cholla. And they didn't come back. I followed them, stupid, I know, but something about the way they vanished just didn't sit right. 50 feet in the cactus, closed in, taller than usual, bent toward the path. Their needles glittered in the sun like glass, and then silence broke. Not wind, not animal, but a voice, low drawn out. It called my name. It came from ahead, from inside the cactus grove. It wasn't a question, it was a statement, like it already knew me. Like it had always known. May turned and ran branches, tore my shirt, needles, ripped my arms. But I didn't stop. When I got back to the trail, the air had changed, thicker, harder to breathe, and the trail sign was different. Instead of Cholla Ridge Trail, it now read Chosen Ridge. Blinked, rubbed my eyes, it switched back. I was losing. It had to be heat stroke, that's what I told myself. I made camp 5 miles up the ridge, flat spot tucked behind a rock wall. I built a fire, even though it was hot, because I needed the light. I didn't sleep, not because of fear, but because something was watching from the dark. I heard it move low, scraping like skin over stone. Every time I looked toward it, I saw nothing but the sound. It circled closer every hour, and then right before dawn, a shape appeared at the edge of firelight. Wasn't human, not fully. It was tall, wrapped in something tattered, its skin cracked, thirsty. Its mouth was wrong, too wide. No teeth, just black. It pointed one long finger at the fire, then at me, then vanished. When the sun rose, there were no ashes in the pit, no embers, only sand, flat and untouched, like no fire had ever burned. I hiked without food that morning. Didn't feel hungry, didn't feel tired, just a constant weight in my chest, like something behind my ribs was leaning forward, pulling me deeper up the trail. The sun didn't rise. Right, it climbed, but sideways. The shadows bent in the wrong direction, and the color of the sky wasn't blue. It was bone gray with a haze behind it, like something was pressing against the other side. The second trail marker was gone, not broken. Gone post, and all just around. Hole in the dirt where it had been, and in its place were teeth, not animal, not human, dozens of them arranged in a ring like a halo. Some still bloody. I stepped around them, didn't speak, didn't write it down. I knew somehow If I acknowledged them, it would matter, like the thing watching me was waiting to see what I'd do further up. I passed an old campsite to sleeping bags, both torn open down the center. Still zipped, no gear, no packs, no names carved in the stone, and between them a mirror. Old, framed in weathered iron, leaning against a dead juniper, reflecting something that wasn't me though. Figure in it stood where I stood, moved like I moved, but it wasn't me. Its skin was thin, stretched, veined in black, and where my eyes should have been, there were holes, not sockets, just tunnels into dark. It smiled. I didn't. I blinked, and the mirror was empty. Kept moving, the incline sharpened. Air thinner, I could feel it pressing on my chest, like hands, like fingers beneath my ribs tapping. The bones about midday, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, heavy, not matching mine, and every time I stopped, they stopped toey. Shouted once, nothing, no echo, just silence. Then, from behind a large boulder, a voice, cold, flat, familiar, it said, "You already die." Hooray backed away, pulled the radio again. Static, no, not static breathing. It matched mine at first, then it sped up, then it stopped. But mine didn't. T turned it off. Kept climbing round the next bend. I found a wall 10 feet high, made of bones now. Piled, built, structured, set in dried mud like concrete. Some were charred, others polished, clean carved into them. Symbols, cactus flowers, skulls' eyes without pupils, the same shapes repeated over and over, always in threes. There was a gap at the center, wide enough to crawl through beyond it. Only Fogger sat for an hour, maybe more, watching that wall, listening. Something on the other side was pacing. Not around above like it was on the ceiling of the sky. Eventually, I crawled through. I don't remember doing it, but I was on the other side, and the ridge was gone. The ground was flat, cracked, white like ash. The fog so thick I could only see a few feet ahead, and in that space I heard voices, whispers again, but this time I understood them. They said, "He's here." He came back. His mouth is empty. His eyes will open. He stumbled, ran, tripped, and fell into a pit. I didn't sit, was shallow, a dry wash, but the walls were smooth. No stone, just skin. The sides of the pit were living, pulsing, warmed in the center. Half buried was a rib cage, large, too large, human-like, but stretched. Wrong inside it, a journal wrapped in wax cloth. I opened it, pages, water-stained, but the writing was sharp. Precise entries dated from 1987, all signed with the same initials, DM. They wrote of the same trail, Cholla Ridge. They saw the same man in the distance. They heard the same whisper. They mentioned the bone wall and the pit of teeth, but their final entry chilled my blooded reed. I have followed the trail to the end and found my double. It waits in the fog. It remembers my name tonight. It will wear my skin, and no one will know I'm gone below. That scrawled in different handwriting, "Welcome home." COLE. I dropped the journal, climbed out faster than I should have been able. The fog pulled at my legs like fingers, like it didn't want me to leave. Ran no direction, just away, and somehow I was back on the ridge, just like that sun setting, real sun, normal sky, and a sound behind me, soft like someone crying. Turned and saw myself standing at the base of the trail, clothes torn, eyes black, mouth stretched into a grin. that didn't fit my face. It waved, then turned, and walked back down the trail, toward. My truck eye screamed, but no sound came. Out. Ran the rest of the way down the ridge, didn't stop to breathe, didn't stop to think. The sun felt fake, like a set light in a sound stage. The shadows were too long, my own followed behind me, not beside, behind, mimicking every move a half second. Late by the time I reached the base, my truck was there, but different. The paint was dull tires, buried deeper in the dust than they should have been like. It had been parked there for weeks. Sai got in anyway. Key, turned engine, fired like normal radio. Came on by itself, and the voice that came through was mine, but not from any recording I ever made it. Whispered, "Don't leave it alone, don't lock it behind it. Where's your memory now?" Then it laughed soft, like static through teeth, turned it off, drove. Without thinking, didn't care about GPS, didn't check my mirrors, because in every reflection, I wasn't alone at a gas station outside Globe. I stopped for water. Cashier gave me a strange look, said I looked pale, asked if I'd been out in the sun too long. I asked what date it was. She told me November 10th I left. On October 27th, 2 weeks gone. No beard growth, no weight loss, no sunburn, like time folded in on itself somewhere up on the ridge back in Tucson. My apartment didn't feel like mine. Same furniture, same photos, but something in the air had changed to still too heavy, like the room was watching me breathe. First night back, I heard footsteps on the roof. Not rats, not branches, human, slow, deliberate, they circled. For hours, when I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of the mirror again, and of myself on the other side, smiling, not waving, just waiting in the morning. There was a single feather on my pillow, black, short, perfectly placed tie. Tried to burn it, but it didn't catch, not even with a lighter pressed to the quiver. Next day, I started hearing voices through electronics. My phone, TV, laptop, always just beneath the volume. Like a second audio track that wasn't supposed to be there, and always the same word. Chuzini, know how it's spelled. That's how it keeps showing up on my mail, on receipts, even carved into condensation on the bathroom mirror's Sacho. Oh, Sinai. Went back to the Ranger District office, told them I wanted to file a report, trail hazard missing. Signage, unstable terrain. They looked at me like I was speaking another language, said they didn't manage anything called Cholla Ridge, said it wasn't on any of their maps. I demanded to see records, permits, trail logs, nothing. When I asked about DM, the initials in the journal, the clerk froze. Said those initials matched a ranger who went missing back in 1987. Last seen heading out toward a no-decommissioned fire road near the same canyon. They never found his body. Asked if they had photos. They did. Was the man I saw on the ridge, the one standing in the sun with no shadow eye. Didn't sleep that night, and I haven't really slept since. The figure in the mirror shows up more often now. Not just in glass, in windows, in puddles, even in turned off screens. It watches, always smiling, always patient. 3 nights ago it finally moved. Di was brushing my teeth. Looked up and its hand was on the glass, pressing outward like the mirror was water, like it wanted. Out high, smashed it with a wrench. shards everywhere, but it was gone a reflection. No me, just the sound of breathing. Not when I left town. That night didn't pack, didn't call anyone. Just got in the truck and drove. Now I sleep in rest areas. Never 2 nights in the same spot. Windows covered, no mirrors, no screen's eye. Thought maybe I could outrun it, but this morning in a diner in Nevada, the waitress called me by name. I never gave it to Harry. Asked how she knew. She just smiled and said, "He says thank you for letting him go first." I didn't finish my coffee. Don't know how much longer I can keep moving. My gas money's almost gone, and I've started seeing the trail in places it doesn't belong. Sidewalk cracks, drainage ditches, even once in the reflection of my windshield. Same design, same dirt, same word carved under the trail marker TURN. But there's no direction now, no ridge, no state line that keeps this thing behind, because I didn't leave the trail, it left with me, and now every time I blink I see something stretching, growing like cactus arms, reaching out from the corners of my vision, waiting patient, rooted in me. If you see the sign, if you see the name, if you hear the voice that says your name like it's always known, do not follow it, do not answer, and above all, do not smile back, because if you do, you won't come back alone, and eventually, neither did I.